I'm trying out the mic thing. I'm trying out the sit down and chat with you guys and just give you like a little insight on what's going on with me, more about me, and everything. I feel like I've been doing this channel for a little bit now. I love doing vlogs, but I feel like I have a lot more to say than just doing vlogs. To start off this video, I am a 25-year-old young gal that moved to Miami from Ohio about 9 months ago. Kind of crazy. Also lived in New York City for 4 months to make it make sense. I picked Miami because I wanted a big city. I wanted to be able to have my car. I wanted to be able to enjoy the weather. I've never experienced living in a place where it's warm weather all year round, so I thought, fuck it, let's try it. So it's kind of where I'm at in life. And I did go to school. I went to school for fashion with a minor in marketing. Post-grad has been a whirlwind. Besides school, life in general has been very confusing, chaotic, and nerve-wracking. I don't know. Your 20-something is such a scary journey because you really are alone in it. Everybody around you is doing something different. Everybody around you at this age is at a different stage of life, and it's confusing because you don't know what's right, and there is no right path, is what I will tell you. Whether you're older than me or younger than me, this applies, I feel like, to any age in your 20s. Like, you can still be 29 and feeling exactly the way I'm feeling. You can be 21 and feeling exactly the way I'm feeling. I feel like 20s are such a weird, like, it's just such a weird age. I personally have had a lot of struggle with trying to figure out what I want to do in life, where I want to go, what I want to be. I've always knew that what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be, but there's a lot of different ways to go about it, and pursuing my dreams like didn't seem reachable or obtainable when I lived in Ohio, when I lived in a small town, when I lived in people that were kind of doing like the cookie cutter typical daily life. I think going to New York City and seeing people hustle and bustle was a game changer for me, and seeing how much life is out there and how much bigger the world is than just Ohio. I've been going through it lately. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm on the high horse or that I'm doing great. Like, I have been going through it. Like, my struggles are very much real. They're here today, and I just want to let you know that you're not alone. I think the biggest thing that helped me feel okay and feel all right was finding God. Finding God in my journey moving down here in Miami. Also, by the way, I live by the freeway, so I'm hoping this mic doesn't pick up on any of it, but if it does, that's what's going on out there. Anywho, if you haven't read the book How to Be a Badass by, I'm so bad that I don't know the author's name, because it's one of my favorite books, and it's one of the books that I would recommend to everyone and anyone to read, because I feel like I'm actually currently attempting to read it again. I'm not a reader. I want to be a reader. I like poetry, like I like short reads and whatever. This is a great short read, but as far as like novels, I really do want to start doing that. But yeah, it's How to Be a Badass. I'm going to link it in this video so that you can have access and know what I'm talking about. It's a self-help book. It was one of the best eye-opening self-help books that even when I did read it back when I did, I don't know how long it's been, for the first time, I read it and I was like very motivated by it, but I didn't fully understand what she was saying. And I feel like the older I'm getting, the more I'm like, wow, like she is so right. There's just things in there that like, it's kind of like a step-by-step process and almost what she says, and things you need to do. Like, you need to meditate, you need to find your God, your higher power. It doesn't have to necessarily be God himself if you choose to go that path. I mean, that's just where I'm at in life, and I feel like he saved me in so many ways that I can't even comprehend yet, or maybe ever. But it's a new thing for me. I grew up in a Christian household per se, but not like going to church every single Sunday. It was more like here and there, and a great start to my faith for sure. But yeah, so with this book, it also includes information on how you should be meditating and how you need to be believing in yourself, and just like kind of literally giving you like, this is how to like make your dream come true if you really want it. It's really that easy. I've never really had a problem with getting what I want, whether it's hard or not. But I think when it's something I really, really want, and it's obviously feels like out of this world, unimaginable, I shut down. And I think there's no way. There is way. There is very much way. Don't let life bring you down. That's all I'll say. If you have something and you know you have something, go get it. It doesn't matter if you fail. The hardest part is the failing. The hardest part is getting past like the first steps. But you have to understand that like you're getting to your goal. Like there's a goal, like there's an end goal, and even though you're not there yet, doesn't mean you're not gonna get there. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to have faith, you have to have hope, you have to literally be delusional. And I've heard so many people say this, and you won't understand it until you're in your own zone. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is my past. I guess it's not my past, but something that's really important to me and I don't ever talk about on here is my adoption. So I am adopted. When I was 4 days old, literally fresh out the womb, my parents adopted me, and I'm forever grateful and love them, and they are my parents. My birth parents had me when they were 17. They had me really, really young. But they decided to have me, but they obviously couldn't raise me. And so that's pretty much my adoption story. My sister is also adopted from a different family. So we were both adopted. I have one other sister. That's the 411 on our family. My parents couldn't have kids. They tried and tried and tried. They couldn't have kids, so they had us. My sister's she has her own birth story that I low-key want to bring her on and us have like a whole like podcast kind of episode of talking about adoption and like both of our different stories. Hers is a little more traumatic, so I definitely want her to be able to tell it. But she's also camera shy, so I don't know if she'll ever tell it. I think I'm gonna have to force her on here, but that's for another day. But as far as my adoption story, that's pretty much it. Like, my parents had me at a young age, but they decided to have me and like whatever, they gave me up. Back in 2020, I found them. Big moment for me. In 2020, it was COVID, and I was really bored. I was looking through my birth book that my mama had made me, and I noticed that one of my potential names was going to be Victoria Dawn, and it said that that was going to be named after my birth mom's sister. So then I started doing a little research. And I started looking on Facebook for, it was April Dawn. I don't know where the Victoria came from, but her name was April Dawn. So I find an April Dawn on Facebook, and I'm like, this kind of looks like me, but not really. And then all the other information I knew is that my birth parents' name is Heather and Dustin. And so I'm like, okay, if she's friends with a Dustin, then maybe so. I'm in like such denial in this moment, okay? So I go, she's friends with the Dustin, and I'm looking through his profile, I'm looking through his page, and I'm like, maybe, but maybe not. And it's crazy because if you see the pictures, like me and like I very much look like my birth family, especially like I found out I have 2 full blood birth brothers, and like them as kids, like I'm literally their twin. Like the one, I'm like split image, but I'm still in denial looking at this, my birth father's Facebook page, right? I'm looking and I'm like, maybe, no, I don't know. I don't know what I was looking for as some kind of answer or sign, but it wasn't like correlating. So then I'm like, okay, if this Dustin guy is friends with a Heather, then we're really in for a treat. So now I found out he is friends with a Heather. And I think at this point I realized like their Facebook profiles were like the same or something, where I'm like, oh yeah, like this has to be them. But I'm still in very much denial. Like I'm like, it could be, but who knows, right? So then I'm scrolling on her Facebook, still in denial. Like these split image of kids are like flashing at me, but I'm still like, no, I don't know. Next thing I know, I come across a picture of me, and I think it was like my 6th grade school photo, and I threw my phone. I'm like, what? I was freaked out seeing my picture on this random lady's Facebook page. I'm like, there is no way. There is absolutely no way right now. Like, I was shook to my core. I was absolutely shook to my core. It was also like, I don't even know what time of the night, and I'm just like, you know, like, I legit threw my phone across the room. I had to go grab it, and there's my picture still sitting on my phone. And I'm like, oh my God, like, this is it. Like, I just found them. And I almost was like, kind of regretting it. I was like, I wish I didn't find them, because like now I don't know what to do with this information. And at that time I was 21. Yeah, I think I was, or no, I was 20. I was 20? I think I was 20. I don't know, 20 or 21. Either way, crazy. That was like a big like aha moment, but also like whoa moment, because like I've always wondered what they look like. That's really all I've ever been curious about. I haven't been curious to have a relationship with them because I never understood how that's gonna go. I'm like, okay, once I reach out to them, then like, do we continue a relationship? Do we go our separate ways? Like, how does this work? I just didn't know, and not that I didn't care to know. I just felt like I just wasn't ready, pretty much, and I don't know if I'll ever be ready. So yeah, that's pretty much that. I left it at that. Like, I didn't contact them. I creep on them because she always says happy birthday to me with that picture, because that's the last picture that my mom had sent them of my school picture. Like, at some point she was like, she just didn't do it anymore, but every year she would send me and my sisters like their our birth parents, our school pictures, just to like, my mom's just a great person, right? Like, she'd send a little like, Abby's doing well, da da da, she's into this, da da da. I want to read and see all the things she did, because that woman, she's my everything. She's my holy grail. So, and I did end up telling my parents back like the next day that I like found my birth parents, and they were shook to their core that they were still together, because they were like, we thought for sure like they would be just like still together, because they were so young. Like, when they had me, like they didn't think they would like end up together. And it's funny because also like they would send my school picture to each of them because she didn't think they were together. So like how that worked is, she like made up the letter and would send it to the adoption agency, and then the adoption agency would send it to them, which like back then we all didn't know if it actually would ever reach any of them, so we just assumed like they maybe got it, they maybe didn't. Yeah, I told them the next day, and that was pretty much that. Like, I stalked them, and I every now and then, but I really didn't like have a care to reach out, because I felt like I just wasn't ready. Even though I don't know when I'll be ready, I knew in like right now I want to at least like establish myself, my career, my life, everything before opening that can of worms. And also it's just hard because I have a family, and it's like, yeah, they exist, and yeah, like it's a very confusing and hard thing that I'm still unsure about. I don't know if I'll ever understand how to go about it. Then recently I had gone home for my mom's birthday, and as well I had to bump it up because of the hurricane. My flight was going to get canceled. It was a whole fiasco. I'm like about to like get on my plane. Also, just to put this on a timeline, it was October. It was like probably like October 10th or something like that. So a month ago. I see Heather is following me on Instagram. Like, she follows me on Instagram, and my heart sinks into my stomach, and I'm like, what? Like, I know they've been curious about me. Obviously, I'm curious about them, but I was just like, so many thoughts and feelings flooded my brain. Like, what do I do now? Why is this happening? What do they want from me? I don't know. For some reason, I don't know. I'm speechless. That's how I was in the moment. So I see that, and then I'm just trying to process that. And then I think I also found out that she had requested me on Facebook too, and I'm like, oh boy. I had a late flight, so pretty much I sat with that, went to bed, woke up the next morning to a comment under my Instagram post saying, check your DMs, it's important family stuff, from this random Instagram page. And I'm like, who the hell? I'm like, what? Like, obviously I knew it had a tie-in with like Heather, my birth mom, adding me, but I'm like, who is this? And then I went to his Instagram, and it's my birth brother. I already knew everything about him, but his Instagram was very incognito. Like, it didn't like scream out him. So I'm just like, what the heck? And so I check my DMs, and pretty much he's trying to message me, like, say like, hey, I don't know how to tell you this, but I'm your blood brother. And I'm like, I know. I'm like, I know. I just like, I don't know how to feel. And I know like they're so excited to like finally be able to find me, and like but what I will say is they have gone about everything in a very respectful manner, and understand that like I may not want a relationship with them, or I may not be ready, or like they don't have a lot of expectations out of me. And that was one thing I was really worried about, is like, what if I don't live up to their expectations? Like, I don't know if I have a lot to offer right now. Like, I don't know. It was more so I found out that my birth brother was interested in finding me than like my birth parents. Not that they weren't, but like they were gonna let me find them. I started talking to my birth brother, and he told me that he found me because his friend was like an ex-cop or something, where he could like get a hold of my information. I'm like, oh wow, like that's so cool. And I don't know, we kind of just like talked and like catched up, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. I kind of left it at that, because I feel like we're both still really young, and I now live in Miami, so it's a good excuse to get out of the situation, but it also doesn't make sense to really like form a relationship right now. And he's still really young. He just turned 21. And then I have another birth brother who, I think they said he's 16, and that's the one who's literally my twin. Like, we look like copy paste for real. My birth mom had also messaged my mom, my sister, and me, kind of the same spiel, just saying like, I understand that you are Abby's mom. I'm not trying to take anything away from you. I see how well she's doing. It makes me so happy. Like, just like kind words and respectfully approaching the situation. I don't know. What she texted me at was like a little bit like sporadic, because I feel like she was really nervous, because I mean, I can't even imagine. And it's funny because she kind of talks like the way I do when I'm like scatterbrained like that. Yeah, so I mostly just talked to my birth brother, because I did respond to my birth mom, but kind of just like a generic like text back to everything she had said to me, like just to know that like I acknowledge what you're saying and I appreciate what you're saying. But I don't know, adoption is a weird thing, and like no one will ever understand it unless you have been adopted, and even then everyone's situation is different. Luckily my situation is, honest to God, like really like a blessed situation, where it's this beautiful family that ended up creating their own family. They just had me too young. Like, there's not really much of a sob or like horrific story tied to it, you know? And that's also what's really hard to wrap my head around, on like, well, Abby, like, why not just have a connection with them? Or why not just like open up this book and like go like meet them and do this and do that. And I'm just like, it's not that easy. It's easier said than done, because not only do I live in Miami, even if I lived back home, because like they do also live in Ohio, I wouldn't want to meet with them. And it's not anything against them. It's not anything against them. It's just like, it kind of freaks me out. It kind of freaks me out, and it kind of makes me like, I don't know. I think I'm also just scared of not living up to their expectations, even though they don't have any expectations towards me. It's just like, I want to be fully established here before I open anything there. And I think that's valid. The biggest thing I always say is like, I don't know if I want to, like, I want to know going into starting a relationship with them that I'm okay with continuing this relationship, you know? I'm putting it off until I feel that way, and I know I will feel that way one day, but just right now, I feel like my birth brothers are too young, I'm too young. This is a weird situation. I'm not ready to open up this situation. I am still figuring myself out, my own life out. To open up this just doesn't make sense to me right now. I didn't necessarily say that to them, but I think they also understand that. And I did tell them that I need time to process. Like, this is like, hi, hold on. Let me process what's going on here, because it's just like, it's overwhelming. It's a very overwhelming feeling, to say the least. And I think when I do meet them, because of course one day I do want to meet them, I want it to be right. I don't want it to be perfect. I just want it to be right, and I want to go about it in like kind of a graceful way. I think it will be really emotional, honestly, because it's like you had me. I don't even know, like, if I were to face that woman, I would just be like, hi. Like, I would be so shy. I know I would be so shy, because I'm just like, who are you? Like, I'm so confused. Like, it's kind of a confusing thing, and I never thought that growing up, I always knew I was adopted. My parents were very open about it and loving and caring about it. And I also, along the way of growing up, I met other people who were adopted, and I could kind of relate to them, and like they had their stories, and I was good. But I feel like now that this is kind of like opening up, it's more confusing for me, because I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's right or what's wrong, but like, I think that means that I'm just not ready. So that's kind of a little, like, I guess it's turned into a whole adoption story without me trying to turn into my whole adoption story. But I've been wanting to share my adoption story on here because I don't think people know it, and I also don't think people talk about it enough. If you are adopted, I feel like it's very like a hush-hush thing, and it should be very far from that. Like, I'm so proud that I'm adopted. I'm so proud of my parents. Like, I love them so much. As far as how they feel with me opening up to my birth family, they're all for it. Of course, it makes them feel a little some type of way, but they know that I know who my parents are, and no matter what I create or open up with them, with my birth family, that's my family, and I know that, and I'm fully aware of that. But I think it's just more hard for me to understand like where to go from having a relationship with them. Like, once I like meet you, then what? Do we keep meeting up? Do we just stop talking? Do we keep talking? Do we act like everything's normal and like, oh, hey, bro? Like, I don't know. It's just a thing that freaks me out, and I think with time I will understand what I want more. It's not an easy thing to process. Luckily, it was when I was a baby. It's not confusing in that sense of like not knowing like who my family is or who I like more or like what it may be. Like, no, like I very much have a loving, amazing family. It's just I'm adopted, and that's real. And my mom always says like, oh, I wish I could have just had you. But I'm like, No, because I wouldn't be me, and she knows that, and we're like this. Me and my mom are like this. Like, we are very much twins. It's funny. I don't know if you're into zodiacs, but I'm Sun Leo, Moon Libra, and she's Sun Libra, Moon Leo. So like, yeah, we are very much tight. She'll support anything I do, and that's also why I love her, because even if it does make her sad or feel some type of way, she will fully support me. I have so much respect for that woman. Same with my dad, but my dad's more just like, he's a chill guy that like doesn't have much to say. I just, you know, it's more my mom who I think would feel emotional and feel some type of way, and but she would never want to like portray that on me or make that change my decision and whatever I want to do. Like, it's fully up to me, and it's hard for it to be fully up to me. Adoption is kind of crazy if you think about it, but I love to say that I'm adopted. I think it's a cool fact about me. I think it makes me who I am, because the more I analyze it, the more I go through life, I'm like, wow, like I really grew up in an environment where like I don't know, like, what's the word? Like, I'm not blood related to anyone. Like, I'm related to everyone, and I fully know who my family is, but now I'm finally looking at it like, that's something that not a lot of people experience. So it's kind of crazy to experience that and not talk about it and not, like, just go deeper into it, you know? But I think it made me into who I am today. I think it made me everything I am today, for sure. And I think also it made me realize that a lot of who you are is your environment. It's not, what's it called? Oh my god, I'm using my phone for my camera, but I'm trying to think what's like, yourself is more environmental than it is like through your bloodline, if that makes sense. I can't think of the word I'm trying to think of. Even, it's funny, like my sister, she's brown hair, brown eyes, but why do we look alike? Why do we look alike? Like, it's weird. Even our body types are very much similar, and it just shows like environment is really much real. Even though I look like my birth family, I really want my sister to be able to tell her own story, but she looks nothing like her birth family. But her birth family is a whole nother story that I'm not going to get into. That's her story to tell. Or if she lets me know that I can tell it, maybe one day I'll do another part 2 of adoption. But yeah, I just think that's a really important thing that I wanted to talk about and share, because I don't see it being talked about enough. And I see people talk about adoption like being the ones adopting children, but I don't feel like the children are ever talking about being adopted. And I want to let you know you're not alone if you're adopted, and it's cool if you're adopted. Being adopted is actually very trendy right now. Yeah, that's all I have to say. And if you guys enjoyed me talking about adoption and talking more about like my life, feel free to comment below and let me know if you want to hear more, or honestly, comment below any video idea you have. I love you. Thank you for watching. I will see you next week, and subscribe. Love you.